This is my final for the final presentation for the prison epistles, covering Ephesians, Colossians, Philippians, and Philemon. Like I said, it's a prison epistles. They were written by Paul when he was in prison and house arrest, and they were most likely written between about 58, 60 to 63-ish AD. Like I said, they were the books or the letters of Ephesians, Colossians, and Philippians, which were written to specific churches in Ephesus, Colossae, and Philippi. And then there was one letter that was written to a specific individual, and that was Philemon. And for the in-depth presentation, I'm going to be covering the letter of Philemon. Like I said, it was written to a specific man who was a Roman citizen, and during this time period, they would have had slaves, and he was part of the church in Colossae. And his slave that the letter is about, that entails, is Onesimus, and he, like I said, was a slave to Philemon, and something happened between the relationship and whatever was going on that Onesimus decided to run away. And after he ran away, he met Paul while Paul was in prison, and through Paul's mentorship and spending time with Paul, became a follower of Christ. And Paul had written this letter to Philemon, and in verse 6 he said, I pray that your partnership with us in the faith may be effective in deepening your understanding of every good thing we share for the sake of Christ. And for the word partnership, the Greek word is koinonia, and like I said, it means partnership, mutual participation, sharing is another one of them, and it is referring back to God's faithfulness and how we should treat others as we've been treated through God's faithfulness with the same reconciliation, and to partner with those that are around us to share that with them as well. Paul writes this letter to Philemon to boldly ask that he receives Onesimus as a member of, as his family, not as a slave that Philemon remembered him to be, but rather as a brother in Christ, as a friend. Because of Onesimus running away and being a slave, Philemon had every right under the law to severely punish Onesimus however he sought or thought was correct and wanted to, whether that be financial and continuing to be a bondservant to him, or it could even have been imprisonment for Onesimus himself, or possibly even death for him. And through this letter, Philemon is just Paul is telling Philemon that, we are all, through Christ, we are equal. Once we come to Christ, that we should treat those that have wronged us with the same kindness and gentleness and grace and mercy and forgiveness that Christ has shown us when we came to him through the cross and what he has done for us. Paul is begging Philemon to forgive that through his time and his mentorship of Onesimus in prison, that Onesimus has become like a son to him, and that he wanted Onesimus to stay with him because he could do so much for him, but he wanted him to also return to Philemon where he quote-unquote belonged, because of what still needed to happen between the both of them, and to right the wrong that Onesimus would have committed. And Paul had basically asked Philemon and saying, whatever, even if it's financial, whatever it is, that I ask that you put that debt upon me, and to see Onesimus as a different person, as forgiven, just in the same way as Christ on the cross took our debts and put it on himself, and telling God, going, please look at me and not at them. I'm taking a hold of their debt and the relationship that you and I have, that the Father and I have, that it be forgiven through it. And so the other theme that runs through this is reconciliation, and that once a person finds Christ and receives Christ as their own and into their life, that we are to show them the same grace, the same forgiveness that we have been shown, and to give it on. That if we are in partnership with Christ, that if we are in koinonia with Christ, that we will be sharing the same grace and forgiveness and the mercy that we have been shown, we will also be giving out. And that is the end.